That's something that I agree with as well. You know, because again, Mr. Terrific, something I didn't believe that I would ever have in a live
Yeah,
action
no kidding,
movie.
right?
I was like, oh my gosh, he's known to be smarter than Batman. He's gonna
Yeah.
have a movie. And then, but because of the I believe because of the Green Lanterns casting, people completely forgot about the Mr. Terrific casting because now we're on to the issue of will Vixen no
Ugh.
longer be played by a biracial woman or a light-skinned woman and instead a darker skinned woman. And I'm like, listen, I want to have hope. I do.
Yeah, and this it's really tough because uh, Ncuti Gatwa as Doctor Who comes to mind as well, right? He got a rough ride and he is great in that part, right? It's Edie Gathegi, right? That is playing Mr. Terrific cast.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it becomes everything about how they look and not their performance and the stuff they've done before, right? And that just feels so unfair to me, because if it was a white guy with notable exceptions like, Johnny Depp playing Tonto that
Mhm.
got some people upset. I understand. See, there's an example of I understand why people were upset there. I still like Johnny Depp. I understand why people were upset there. But it all becomes about whether they're perfect before we've even seen the movie. And I just keep thinking about Heath Ledger as the Joker and thinking, why do we do this ritual every time there's casting? You know,
Yes.
like it's so focused on how they look and everything's digitally retouched now. So they just they rearrange every hair, every pore, like every single frame of those films is retreated. So why are we focused on looks? Why isn't it about the performance?
Exactly. Uh, and that's what I wonder too. I think for for the Birds of Prey, for Black Canary's role, what's her name? She also starts with a J, right? Is it is it
Um
Julie Smollett or
oh yeah, what the heck was her name? Um I'm looking it up. Yeah, Journey Smollett. Yeah.
Journey? I knew it started with the J too.
Yeah.
I believe for her, it came out that they were specifically looking for they were doing biracial castings.
Right.
And she was the one that got the role from her performance, and probably because I don't know, big name as well, maybe
Right, maybe. But I mean, then you get the whole
nepotism.
thing,
Dave.
well, the whole Zoe Kravitz thing
Um,
that uh she was too urban to play Catwoman.
but I don't. How does that?
Um I apparently it didn't happen. This is a story that kind of took off.
Ah,
Um so but the fact that it was something that was believable because of, I mean, Catwoman is one of those roles that because Eartha Kitt played Catwoman in the 60s Batman series, that is fair game. That is not a race swap to do a mixed race Catwoman in a new movie. It's been done before.
and in the comics as well. Uh, I guess depending on the Earths, they mostly go with the either she is darker skinned but lighter skinned because she has like some sort of biracial family thing with, Falcone, or
Yeah.
she is ambiguous brown.
Right. I mean, there was that period where every so often, artists like to draw like Audrey Hepburn,
Mm-hmm.
which sort of but again, I mean, Zoe Kravitz has this big mix, right?
Yeah,
Of
which
background.
was why I was like pretty much fine. I'm like, I mean, many times Catwoman looks biracial anyway. So,
Yeah.
and this is falling in line with her being related to the Falcones. So it's in line for everything. So there shouldn't be any problem at all.
And and this is where I start to wonder because I think a lot of people are you know how it is whenever we talk anything comic books. People are like I'm not bigoted. Right to criticize, right to criticize, right to criticize, right to criticize. Don't let me in. And I do think there are some people that just react to any change at all. So if they've
And I used to
gotten
be one of those people. So I
okay, there
understand
you go.
completely. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I mean, nobody saw Black Adam. So, you
I
know,
did.
Quint okay, Quintessa Swindle somehow managed to avoid a complete freak out over playing Cyclone. Because that is a long line of
Really?
redheaded
I've
characters being swapped.
I have been seeing a freak out for I
Oh,
did see a
really?
lot of freaked out for her. What I didn't see a freak out, which is what nobody else got,
Yeah. Well, they
was
totally changed the character.
that too was Adam.
Well, yeah, he's not Middle
He's
Eastern.
yeah, he's played by a Hispanic guy, and not only that, but he's not skinny or fit.
Right.
Like I remember seeing the trailer and I see his little belly and I'm like, "Oh, he's not skinny."
Who was this?
I don't remember the actor's name, but I know he played the Atom in the Black Adam movie. And there was actually like I think that one had more complete silence than the Cyclone one. Because I was the only one mentioning his weight because I was happy about it. Because even in the suit, you still
Oh,
see the little belly.
the guy who played Atom Smasher.
Adam Smasher, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
he was Hispanic, and but he had the name of the white version of the character
Yeah,
from what I
Al
remember.
Rothstein. Yeah.
And then like he wasn't fit at all. You literally see him eating like a bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love this guy. I
Yeah.
wish he had the Hispanic version name though, because he actually exists, but I still love you.
Did people freak out over Flash Thompson?
Flash
Uh
Thompson,
yeah, the
yes.
they did.
Yeah.
Okay. That he's not
White.
yeah.
And I
Is
believe
he
there was
is
complaint
he
over Ned
not
too.
the oh, okay, the actor's Guatemalan. Okay.
Ned is Guatemalan?
The actor is he's American, but his parents are Guatemalan.
Hey,
Yeah,
neighbors.
Tony Revolori. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's sort of and that is his stage name. The original name was not Revelori. It's his grandfather's name, I think.
It's a
But
nice name.
it is a nice name, but obviously you change the last name because, well, it's the
Oh,
reverse Ariana Grande. He could be Italian, right? As a his actual last name is Quinones. It's got the squiggly thing over the first M, so yeah, right?
yeah.
Obviously much more Latin American sounding. It's so stupid that we have to care about any of this, right? And there's a big difference between do I care because hey neighbor, right? Hey representation versus do I care because I get to freak out if somebody passes a certain line. And that's I don't know, it's not intentional, but I think it's important to recognize where this reaction is coming from. Because if you don't like the idea that you're being bigoted, maybe sit with it for a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like how do you recommend people do it? Because obviously, you have to deal with this, because you've got you've got that black Hispanic thing going on as well, right? So it's like people don't talk about white Hispanics the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double thing. Like, yes, there are white Hispanics. Yes, there are black Hispanics. The whole in the heights thing where people got upset. What did you
Yeah.
think about that one?
I have it on 4K DVD. I do not have a 4K
Oh
player, but
no.
it did come with a Blu-ray, which I do have a player for.
Because I kind of felt bad for Lin Manuel Miranda on that one because he can't seem to win. He keeps
And it was
trying.
so weird because he said that, that he was born there, but then there was also conflicting reports where he apparently wasn't born there, but was around there, or
Right,
something like that. And then he spoke about how the reason it looks like this is because this was his experience
right,
from when he was over there. And
right.
since I've never been in New York, I
Yeah,
don't have any experience.
but
I'm
it
like, okay, I can understand wanting more Afro Latino, Afro Latina, like
and
actors on there.
this is I mean, I completely understand wanting more. But it's the same thing as that sort of uncomfortable gray area Hamilton sits in of yes, great for diverse casting on Broadway, but black people are playing slave owners. It's just
Which
you
I
gotta
mean,
you gotta kind of let
black people
Hamilton
owning slave
happen.
owners is not something that's new in
Right. Like,
history.
but
Uh,
the Schuyler sisters were Dutch.
yeah.
I, ironically, I think that's part of Aaron Pierre's background. I could be wrong. Um,
And back in the day, I say back in the day, but I just mean a few years ago when I first saw it, there was actually a distinction between musicals and movies where people were saying, listen, I don't want the race swaps in the movie, but if it was like a musical where, that stuff didn't matter, that would
right,
make sense. We now are starting to get for the past few years more musicals where that's happening, and now they've switched to, well, even if it's a musical it still shouldn't happen. And I'm like, well, now you're just moving the goalposts. You said it was fine if it was a musical because nobody cares, but
right.
now you're caring. But are
It
you even going to watch it?
I just think it makes it too hard for BIPOC people to do anything,
Yeah.
right? If you're of how do you guys say it down there? Native American? We say indigenous or First Nation. Is it Native American the correct term?
I believe we use I just learned this, that apparently there's a difference between indigenous and Native American.
Right.
So I'm just like, I guess,
But like
but they're not interchangeable.
that poor guy from the live action Avatar, where he does have
Sokka,
that, yeah, he does
right?
have that background, but he's not enough. He's not from a recognized nation.
Yeah, so I
So,
had to do so much research on that because I did not like how Netflix did the casting.
right.
And so like I had to do all this research where apparently the thing that he is in for like uh auth
Yeah,
authenticity,
it's not
authentic,
recognized. Yeah,
yeah, it's not recognized, and also his family's there, and also his family pays for it. I believe he may pay for it. Like I
right,
believe he pay for it every year. And the official Cherokee, casting for like whatever, they
right,
spoke on it, and they're like, yeah, so the reason if you went through us, the people who most likely pay for those stuff
right.
are not recognized because you have to pay for it. Where that's why they were like, hey, I wish you guys could have come to us. We literally have all these resources to help you find Cherokee actors so you don't have possible like scams or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, I do agree with that, but I've now calmed down
Well,
since
it was a
then.
good Soka too.
I didn't see it
Oh,
because
you
of this
haven't?
casting.
Oh no,
And
it's
so now that
everybody's really good in it. And that one, this is when I get it, but at the same time, I'm a bit uncomfortable with the idea of Water Nation, Fire Nation. So they're not real places.
no, but I
And
know they're
yeah.
based on cultures.
Yeah, but it's like let's not make, say, the Inuit in Canada into cartoons. See, there's no
Mm.
winning again,
So like,
right?
I mean, I know the original cartoon was made by two white guys.
Yeah, and they're clearly using like Inuit slash Nepalese
Mm-hmm.
in informed and the actress who plays
Katara?
Katara, I always mispronounce her name because it's got a double I and I'm terrible at this. Kiwatio. Um, she is First Nations. She's legit. Um, she's I mean, she's not, I don't believe she's Inuit. Mohawk. She's Mohawk. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so they did they did their best. I mean, okay, Paul Paul Lee is like Korean background. Daniel Day Kim, like, are we Fire Nation, Air Nation? They're not real places.
Mm-mm.
And this is where, again, I just wish we could have discussions like we're having right now. That's one of the big purposes of Two Women Talking is just have a conversation, right?
And is
Where,
I think this is the only like quote unquote safe place I can actually be able to talk about this. I mean, I can't talk about it on my own channel. I'm not really like afraid of talking about that on my own
right,
channel. I've just been like kind of drained out from doing that. I haven't been doing my own streams lately for
right,
myself that's not interview related. But then there was opportunities where I was on other people's channels where I have been a guest and I was like, "Oh, colorism, John
yeah,
Fear casting, I can talk about it."
yeah.
But
But
I
I mean,
kept getting shut down because the people who were there were majority were white and they felt uncomfortable and they didn't want to get into it and they said, okay, this might be too controversial. And one person was like, yeah, I think this is
really,
too controversial. If you guys are going to talk about it, I'm just going to leave. And then that person came
really,
in and they started talk crapping on the Zack Snyder stuff. And I'm like, yeah, Zack
uh,
Snyder stuff's totally not controversial. Like either whether you're for or against Zack Snyder, that is a controversial topic all the time.
right.
So why can't I talk about colorism?
He was the reference in the Barbie movie, right? Like, oh, but the Barbie movie is controversial. And see, that's the thing. Avoiding topics because they're controversial has always sat wrong with me because let's face it, that encourages status quo.
Yeah,
And we can both go, okay, I understand why people are bothered by the pretendian phenomenon. I totally understand because that's actually something where people got money and positions by claiming to be indigenous when they were not. We
yes.
can say that, but also say, do we
Happens a lot,
really
apparently.
Yeah, but do we really care that Gordon Cormier is of Filipino descent? Well, some of the other cast members are of Korean descent, and Dallas James Liu is where's he? I'm not sure where his family's even from, right? He was on Tekken. Uh, they just say I'm American, right? Which fair. Uh, and he practices Japanese martial arts. I don't know if that means anything, right? So,
Well, we also have Phil Lamar, who voiced Samurai Jack, and
right,
he got the accent because he had friends from Japan. So he just kind of mimicked the accent and got the role.
right. And I mean, Polly's casting, people were originally unsure about,
Mm.
and he didn't do the voice because he said, I don't want to do an impression. I'm going to make this character my own. And of course, blanking on the name, Uncle Iro? Was that the
Uncle
character's name?
Iroh!
Iro, yeah. Yeah. Very distinct voice. He didn't do it, but he embodies the character in other ways. And I prefer that when it's clearly the character, he was clearly the right guy, but he did something a little bit different. So I'm not constantly comparing one to the other, right?
That's interesting. Now I kind of want to hear it because I believe the original voice actor for the show was Aku from Samurai Jack. I believe his the voice actor's name was Mako.
Mako, yeah.
And then he died, so he had an
Yes.
understudy, and then he also played Uncle Iroh for a bit before he died, and then when he died, his understudy took over. And
Right.
when you do hear the accents of both, it is a Japanese accent.
Yes. But they were like, I don't want to. They're like, we don't want you to do. I do think it's more respectful,
Yeah.
but if it's not, because that was his natural, well, a version of his natural speaking voice, right? Um,
I also get taught I get asked if there's like a voice acting role and they're like, okay, hey, can you do a specific accent? And I'm
right.
like, well, first of all, my mom's from Honduras, my dad is from Puerto Rico. They both have different accents,
Hmm.
and I can't do either of them.
Right.
Apparently, one comes out when I get emotional or
Angry. Yeah.
angry, and I don't know how that works because I, as a child, it was Spanish, but then it was switched to English
Right.
24/7. Um, but apparently when I practice, I develop an accent, but I have no idea what the accent is. Like
Right.
I can't do stereotypical Mexican, I can't
Yeah.
do Puerto Rican, I can't do Cuban, I can't do Dominican. I can't.
Did
If
you
I
did you notice? Have you seen Blue Beetle?
Yes, I love Blue Beetle.
Did you notice that they softened the subtitles? Like
Yes.
they PG'd the swears. That is not what they're saying in
Yes.
that movie.
Yeah, my mom passed by and she
Yeah.
was like,
She's
"What
like,
are they
what?
saying?" It's like she's because of the curse words and stuff. And then I see the subtitles and I'm like, "That's not what they said."
That is not what they said.
That's not what they said. They could
They
have
near,
done the
yeah.
Encanto way.
Yeah.
Encanto, and am I allowed to say it on this YouTube?
Uh, is it gonna violate YouTube guidelines? Just
If they
say it.
know
We'll figure out
Spanish.
later.
So, there's the curse word that is mierda,
Yeah.
which is shit.
Right. It's
and
yeah.
and so they censored that by saying something PG and said miércoles, which is
Okay.
Wednesday.
Right. That's clever.
And I was like, "Oh, that's great." They both sound similar, and
Yeah.
it's a
Now
kids movie.
you can say shit on this channel. It's all good. Yeah.
Yay!